You're good today. Mazel tov to you. Okay. We're going to have a argument over here. I'd like to mention that I believe is a machlokes, the people over 40 and the people under 40. You like that? No, there's certain things that different people have a different worldview. When I was in America, somebody asked me about coming late to davening, the importance of coming on time, etc. And I gave them a piece of concept. And basically what I said was that the more important the thing is, the more you make sure to be on time. And if you figure, and I use this mashal all the time, for me to come from my house to here, takes between 35 and 40 minutes. How much time should I leave?
Another 20%.
20% I think is a lot.
20% or 20 minutes?
20%, no, that's a good way to, but in other words, you could have another 5-minute delay, that could happen. But what? Yeah, but if a person says, you know what, an einus happened, it took me 42 minutes. Is that acceptable? Why?
Because you can presume that a delay of...
What do you mean? But it takes between 35 and 40 minutes. So 42 minutes
is likely to happen any day.
Okay. So that's, you know why? You're over 40.
Just
if you think you asked your child that question, what would he say? Okay, I'm sorry.
Time it to a second.
What?
Time it to a second.
Yeah, no, but I'm saying, but you understand okay? And this is, we were also under 40 once, right? This is not, I don't think this is, so we're going to discuss this idea of what's called an einus. Okay, and then we're going to learn the halacha again. I see that Lev was very particular to make it unclear where we're up to because it wasn't so clear. We ran through the first piece, so you weren't sure. Obviously, that's what this marking means. You weren't sure before it or after it. But we're going to start over. Person thought he could wait till after regel. V'lo also kind of a regel. Me'achar shu davar ovid zeh levagomer u'mezav v'chobius bank tanis bank dollars. You're allowed to do whatever has to be done. Kedarko v'lo shinoi. Okay, that's basically what it says. Now let's look at what the situation is that we're talking about. Who is this person that has the heter of doing this davar ovid? A person who didn't prepare properly. I'm sorry, a person who did prepare properly, but he fell into an einus. Ve'ira oines. What's the next word? Forgot?
No, he was lazy.
Yeah,
but forgot? That's an einus?
No, if it was an einus, it was an avrinimik, because they're already wrote on this.
Oh, shachach.
Yeah, or shachach, but I understand. But you're saying that shachach is equal to einus.
That's what it seems to be saying.
Is that, do we accept that?
No.
Okay. I know how old you are. But what about the Shulchan Aruch? The Shulchan Aruch seems to say that you forgot is acceptable. So this is actually a machlokes hapoiskim, and I would just like to borrow the case where this is negea to, and just share this maramakim with you. This is an important question. This happens all the time. This could even happen to me. In my life nowadays, it's very rare that such a thing could happen. Because my life nowadays, I'm not sure what it is, fortunately or unfortunately, is my days are extremely regimented. I know it's every day I may be doing something different, but
Within a certain
Every Monday is this.
right, you know. So, you know that I say that joke all the time. The one part of davening everybody thinks about this is the yom, right?
Mm-hmm.
No, there's certain things that every day I have to figure out what do I have to do. There's some people that always daven mincha at a certain minyan, and if they don't daven mincha at that minyan, they're in trouble.
might forget.
That they might, they will.
Happened to me once in marriage.
Yeah, it will happen. Why will it happen?
It's regimented.
Right. So we don't really think about everything we have to do. We have signs in our day that remind us of all the things that we have to do. That's why I always admire women who make it all the way through Sfira. A man make it all the way through Sfira, no Beseder. Anyways, you have to go to shul. So, but a lady, she doesn't have to go to shul. She doesn't have to daven Ma'ariv. And she counted all 49 days. I take my hat off to her. That's a major accomplishment. It used to be. I would say nowadays they cheat. They all have it on their phone as a reminder. Thank you very much. And so that's not. But still, even people who have it on their phone reminder, they press the snooze button, or they say, and then they get a phone call, and we don't have to get involved in all the details. We're all familiar with them. So I would like to share with you a halacha. And a fascinating halacha. A person, lo aleinu v'lo alechem, becomes a oinen. One of the 7 relatives die, and then he's not allowed to daven. Am I not good? What am I doing wrong?
Everything's fine.
Okay. I even see myself in double. And anyways, so a person becomes a oinen, he can't daven. And then, within the next 6 hours, the mess is buried. Okay? So, he woke up at 7 o'clock in the morning, to the phone, and they said to him on the phone that so-and-so died, and they made the levaya at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Does he have to do tashlumim for shacharis?
No.
Why not?
Because they didn't have chiyuv to daven. His chiyuv was negated by the fact that he's an owner. So as if he didn't have to daven.
You're under 40. From what time did he have a chiyuv to daven?
From Netzach. And he only found out at 7 o'clock. Which I'm sure he could have davened before.
No, you're back to your proper age. Okay. Okay, so that's exactly the halacha. If he was a einin the whole time.
If they told him before needs.
What?
If they told him before needs.
No, well, yeah, well, that's a good question of a nates or a lois shach. But the point of the matter is, even though I choose to daven at 7 o'clock every day, and that's by the first man kriyishma, I'm a kosher Jew. There's nothing. I'm not doing anything wrong.
It's not a
But you can't call me a oines because I could have done it earlier. There's no reason for me to have to expect that person's going to die. That's true. But you're not an oines gomer. The guy who was oinen from before the Zman Tefillah, he's oines gomer. That's the halach. Okay? So that we just made oines very regimented. Right? You know, as a guy who finds out at 7 o'clock in the morning, I'll just give you a piece of advice. You should never have this situation. My father, Zechariah Levracha, his brother here in Eretz Yisrael died, and my cousins, who they were Oynims themselves, they called me to tell me that there's a levaya, and they gave me the job of telling my father that his brother died. So first, how did they tell me that their father died? You're not supposed to tell somebody that somebody died. So they called me up and they said that I'm calling you because I have nothing to say. Because that was enough for me to get what they were talking about. And then they said, would I please tell my father? So I said, fine. And I went about my business. And again, 7 o'clock in the morning in America, my wife says, why don't you call your father? I said, why should I call my father? She says, well, shouldn't he know? I said, no. Let him daven. Let him say, is daf yom yashir? No. No reason for me to tell him before he davens. He's not coming to Levaya. He's not involved. There's no reason to tell him. So therefore, I didn't tell him until after what? After the Daf Yomi. Now,
what was his reaction?
As one would expect. I didn't tell him. I didn't tell him when he was. I didn't tell him anything. I just said that it was nifter or whatever. So I didn't get. I didn't tell him. I didn't tell him, and he didn't ask. He has enough seichel, so to speak, not to ask. And then I would like to share with you a different situation which I had, and all these things are important. What I'm going to tell you right now, you're all going to think how un-Jewish Shulchan Aruch is. Okay? So I'd like to introduce you to who is the one that's un-Jewish, you or Shulchan Aruch. Okay, I'm going to read to you Untitled Shulchan Aruch, and it's worthwhile to know this halacha because you ain't going to hear it somewhere else. And one should be aware. I'll tell you what happened in a minute. The halacha is you're not supposed to tell somebody that somebody died, and the Gemara says you tell somebody died, so that Misha meis lo meis v'lo noida eino chayiv sheyomer loy. Listen to this. Afilu be'aviv ve'imoy. Even the person's parents.
It says eino chayiv.
Eino chayiv. V'al zeh nemar moitzi diba hu ksil. You're allowed to. You just.
Chayav means you don't have to. Doesn't mean you shouldn't. But
What?
Pasuk is pretty strong.
But it doesn't say it's usher.
Right.
Okay.
Where's the pasuk?
Motzi diba hu ksil. The person who he lets out the word is a fool. Okay. Now it ain't over yet. Umuter lahazminu lasudas erisim minasua. V'chol simcha. There's no chiyuv of avelis if you don't know. Okay. Now I'll just share with you the following story. My father Zachariash told me that Rav Ruderman, his Shiva told him he was learning in Slobodka, and he was, a super good zman, and his father died. And they got a letter that his father died, and the Alta Slobodka did not give him the letter until the end of his month. No Kaddish, no nothing.
It was over 30 days.
And it was over 30 days, and he felt that just having him know would be a... Now, so who gave him the right to do that? Like, Sachakol, he did what it says in Shulchan Aruch, right? He didn't do anything. Now, and you're allowed to invite him to Simcha. He's allowed to go because it's not a novel. You're only a novel when it becomes a novel after he has the information. So you're not machshel. Miyuim shoyel alav eno l'shaker v'loimer chayu. Why? Shenemer midvar sheker tirchok. So you have very fascinating, opposing sides. Yedib moitzi diba ksil midvar sheker tirchok. Says the Ramah. Mikamakam bebanim zcharim nohagu lohoitiyoi. If he has male children, we let him know. Kedei sheyomru kaddish. Avul lebanos eimin aklal loidiyam. That was the custom, at least in times that are Amod. This is not me. By the way, don't ever say that this is what you heard Rabbi Zachariash say. I didn't say this. I'm reading to you what it says in Shulchan Aruch. What?
No Kaddish for women.
Yeah, that you could quote me with, maybe. That's the same way. Over here, this is what it says.
What if the person is, when he does find out eventually, he's going to be extremely, extremely upset.
So now, first, I think that we could say that by and large, this is not the practice. So the Paiskim post Shulchan Aruch try to justify the minhag that we have. And there are many justifications that are said. Some to say that if it's before the Levi, you could go to Levi. There's all different kinds of answers. And again, what did I say that my cousin said? I'm calling you because I have nothing to say. The Isser is to be Moitzi Diba. Now, Rabbi Shulei Diskin, and I said this recently, Rabbi Shulei Diskin, he said that if somebody's saying Kaddish in Eretz Yisrael, you don't have to tell the person who has other children in Chutz La'aretz, because every Kaddish in Eretz Yisrael is worth 1,000 Kaddishim in Chutz La'aretz. So even the Ramah doesn't apply. All right.
Are you allowed to put an obituary in the paper?
So all these things are discussed. Most places can say that you're allowed to. Now, I just want to share with you the following incident happened. I had somebody who was an older person, not well, and his sister died, and the family asked me what to do. I said, don't tell him. Wait till after Shloshim, and then tell him. And then the person found out about it after Shloshim. And I'm just telling you what happened. He said, how come you didn't tell me? So I said, we asked Rabbi Zachariash, and he said, not to tell you. She said, okay. I'm still alive.
Is he still alive?
What? He actually is not alive anymore, but
But was I worried that if they told him he will, as in after
he was. So there are many people that are old, and it's difficult for them.
So after 30 days, it's easy to.
Yeah, but you don't have to. You don't have to sit shiva for such a long time. The halachas are different.
Right.
So eventually, people find out. Now, this was I had to discuss with the family. It was a Herculean effort to make sure that he didn't find out. It's not so simple. It's not like in the olden times. You just check your WhatsApp, right? You find out, right? So you have to disengage him. I don't think, not the person who died or the person that was relevant had a WhatsApp. I don't remember if even WhatsApps were born yet at that time. But actually, Einus. Let's get back to this Nakuda. What's called the Einus? So here it seems to equate forgetting with Einus. We have in Hilchos Aninus a level of Einus, and we have in Hilchos Tefillah a Magen Avrohom. Mi shaloi hispalel ba'od sheyesh lo zman lispalel mipnei shesavar shadayin yishar lo zman acher sheyigmor eisa esik shumis asik boy. This is, I don't know if you ever heard of this thing happening. Ubenkach over la'asha. Okay, this doesn't need any Rashi. This is a very common situation. B'chei mishu atar b'tzarach memoyna shevacholo. Umisha yisavar shla yispal kulam chashuvim ointzim v'yesh lahen tashlumim. They call the oinus. Now,
Wasn't amazing.
No.
For sure he's going to run out of time. So I presume he's not going to run out.
I want to read the case again. A guy said that I have time. Right?
But to finish his business.
And actually, you go to Esek, Shumas Asik. Well, ubenkach over lo hasha. Now, why was it over lo hasha? It could be for more than one reason. It could be over lo hasha because he was consumed with his work, which took him longer, or you got carried away. How many times a day does it happen to all of us that we said we're going to do X, and then something happened that took you away from that thought, and you forgot to do it? And this is a normal, unfortunately, a normal happening in the year 2000 plus. This was not normal happening in the year 1850. When someone had something to do, he did it. They didn't have so many things. It was a whole different existence. So the Magen Avrohom, over here it says, the Shikha Mikri Oinus. Very clear. And then he brings a machlokes about it, when you do say it, when you don't say it. And the Chassam Sofer is chaylik on his maskana, whether we say that shikha is oinus or not. And one of the rayas to this machlokes is from our halacha, because our halacha says that shikha is an oinus. Okay, well, it doesn't say those words, but it equates shikha with oinus to say that it's the same thing. But actually, if all these things happen, then again, in my opinion, there's shikha and there's shikha. You understand? So you're allowed to do all these things. Okay. So it says over here, you're allowed to do whatever has to be done. Okay. Now, I would like to learn the Mishnah Berurah, Vav. So it doesn't make a difference whether the barrels are big barrels or little barrels. What should be the difference? So, this Mishnah Berurah, I would like to introduce it with a Gemara which everybody knows. And this Gemara is very frustrating to most people that learn it as young boys. Just a statement, if you look through Shas, when the other Gemara says, Boy Rabbi Yirmiyah, you should take a deep breath. He always asks these questions that get under your skin. That's his. He's a professional at that. The first one that most people bump into, the Gemara says, Kav ba'arba amos, hare elu shaloi. Boy Rabbi Yirmiyah, Chatzi kav b'shtei amos, mahu. Kabayim b'shmoina amos, mahu. Okay, everybody's familiar with this Gemara? And I recall as a little boy learning this Gemara was excruciatingly difficult for me to understand this concept. Today I've become comfortable with the concept. I'm not sure I could explain it. Could you explain it?
Which concept
Isn't it the same? Kav ba'arba amos, isn't that the same as Chatzi kav b'shtei amos?
It's the same ratio.
It says twice, not the same.
I didn't say I don't know where to look up the answer. I said, do I understand the answer?
Yeah.
What?
Why is it so difficult?
The answer to the question, the reason why it's difficult, is because we have an intellectual question with an emotional response. That's really what it is. The Gemara that says that this one, the loss is greater, and this, so it's an intellectual question, and the response of the Gemara, what I would call an emotional response. In other words, the value is only different how people perceive it. It's not objective. And this is like, and I'll use this as an example, I have a shaila, which is negeh to me sometimes. Sometimes when there's traffic on Kvish Achad, I want to come to Beit Shemesh through Beitar. To go through Beitar, you have to go by the Arabs. Sometimes the weather, the things like that fall from the sky that make it not the thunder and lightning that you make a bracha on. You know, right? And you don't want to go that way. Okay? So, it's not usher to go that way. But you're putting yourself at a certain amount of risk. What's the answer to this question? To go the other way, let's say, or even go if somebody lives in Beitar, you could go through Kvish HaMinarot, or you could go through Hadassah, but it's called En Kerem, right? You go through En Kerem. It adds 10 minutes. What does it add? Something like that, 10 minutes. So you say it's not usher, but it's preferable. The guy who does it every day, if you're going to tell him to go the other way, it's an exorbitant amount of time a month. The guy that is doing it once, it's only 10 minutes to be safe. By the way, I'm not discussing right now which road is safer. I'm not going to factor that in. Okay, we'll just leave it as both roads are equal. So the question is, whom should I tell first to go derech Hadassah? The guy who it's every day is exposing himself to that danger, so accumulatively his chance of something happening is greater, but the expense to him is by far greater, or the person, it's a one-time shot, and it's a minimal amount of expense and time, and it's a minimal amount of being exposed to the ominous danger. How do we decide the answer to this question? What's it? You don't understand the question?
It's subjective.
It's not subjective.
Do you prefer a bit more time and a tiny bit more safety?
No. I'm asking you right now. If I was an actuary and I had to insure the people, there's an answer to this question. No doubt. Right? But it's exactly the same thing. This is Boy Rabbi Yirmiyah happening, right? This is... You understand? So, Echshu, now that was introduction to the Mishnah Berurah here. Ben Ketanis, Ben Gedolos. Nokat Tarvayu. Why do they have to speak about big barrels and little barrels? The Mechol Echad Yesh Tzad B'fnei Atzma L'Hakel. Haktanois, the Yain Hamoed, V'lo Nafesh B'Sidayu. It's not much, so you lost a bottle of wine. No big deal. Okay. Mikol Moko Mutter. Dein Tirchas if he saw some Baruba. Just to cork up one bottle of wine, it's not a big deal. So it's a little bit of loss and only a little bit of tircha. V'agdailes avde tirchasad meruba mutter mishum denefishim b'sidayu. Their loss is greater. Okay, you understand why I gave this introduction? So I'm not sure if I understand this, if I understand the Gemara. I'm very comfortable with the concept. I understand the workings of it. This is I have a friend of mine who told me that he one time read in a secular book the following statement. I'm not talking about money. I'm talking about a lot of money. There's two currencies. There's money and there's a lot of money. That's not the same thing. It's a lot of money is not more of money. Right? There's rich people and there's millionaires. It's a different. It's not. They have more money. They're a different league. All right. So that's the subject which we are discussing over here. Okay. Akashram ba'aluklim shekar and raifin. Raifin are the barrels have these rings that hold them. They have a name in English. I can't right now recall the name. Anyways, you're allowed to take out the pishton from the mishra. You're not allowed to plan these things out in the moed. Okay. Next halacha. Mutter lahachnis peres mebnei haganovim im einu b'mokom hamishtamer. If a person has peres in a place that he's afraid that ganovim are going to take them, he's allowed to bring them in. That's the davar of it. Mio yaseh b'tzino kigoin sheachnisem b'layla, because you're doing work on Chol Hamoed and you shouldn't make a scene about it. Doing it at night, you have to have night lanterns and you have to have horses and whatever. It's going to make a bigger deal. Why? Because all of these things, they're only usher because we're trying to minimize damage. We're trying to minimize the damage. And I would like to read the Mishnah Berurah. Let's see both Mishnah Berurahs, okay? You can't leave the stuff around so that you do it on Chol Hamoed. Even though bring it in, there's no malacha involved. It's just calories of work. But even calories of work, you're not allowed to do on Chol Hamoed. All right, Palayla. Why? Why do I do it at night and shouldn't be done during the day? That you do it and you become a makel in Hilchos Chol Hamoed, so that will bring down the level of Chol Hamoed observance in the tzibur. That's called a chorva. And I just would like to make a public bemoaning of something which I saw in my lifetime, and I don't think that even my kids remember. But when I got married, this is not even shaykh in Bet Shemesh. There's no really Makolets over here. It's not, we don't live in the Makolet world. But when I got married, the Makolet was open for an hour or an hour and a half on Chol Hamoed in the morning. That's it. When did you come here? What year?
20 years ago.
20 years ago. When you came here?
It was a while ago.
No, what was...
They certainly weren't open as much as they are now.
Now the Makolet's open like regular.
Almost like regular, yeah. It's a little closer to 4.
Oh. But they're open between 2 and 4. Right?
They're not close.
That's,
They're open on Tuesdays.
Yeah, whatever. I just say that it says, and it used to be that even the Makolets that were open, there were those places that did like Shulchan Aruch, that they had their trisses halfway down. It says that you have open a lot of self for Chol Hamoed. You should have the door open only halfway. There should be a siman. Today, Chol Hamoed is business as usual. You know, that's just it's a great step down. This is the Asa Churban Minei. Okay, and that's what I'm just saying. I remember the good old times when you couldn't get what you wanted on Chol Hamoed. Okay, that's all right. Gimel. This is the PayPal halacha. Asa la'asiyah memoinoi me'ir le'ir im lo b'shil davar ovid. You're not allowed to move your money. No Brinks trucks. Does that still exist? I don't know. What? Okay. All right. All these things are like tircha kind of things. You had your dates outside to dry.
Sorry, can I just ask, because the Rav introduced Gimel as a PayPal question.
I said, just saying that we don't have this whole...
So
you're taking...
PayPal is completely not relevant to this.
No, I'm just saying it doesn't exist. We don't take money from place to place. Do you take money from place to place?
Almost that. It's digital.
Digital or a check? Do you have a blank check? That's not, credit card. No, we don't have money.
So the halacha would not be relevant.
It doesn't exist. It's not that question of being relevant.
Well, if somebody is going on vacation for Chol Hamoed and he wants to bring cash, so this is saying that he would not be able to?
I think so. I would say so. But no, he's doing it. Depends what he's doing. If he needs it for a Chol Hamoed, he needs it for the Moed, then that would be okay. There's no halacha that you're to pay in credit on Chol Hamoed. You can pay in cash. But he's not moving his monies.
So if he's moving the money on Chol Hamoed because he wants to move the money,
right? That's right. But that doesn't
exist.
I don't think it exists. I'm not really sure. Today, all of our banks are international. You do your banking in New York here, and you do your banking here in New York. Right? That's basically how it goes. All right. Somebody here in the shul told me it's been 5 years since they walked into a bank. Okay. Obviously, they have to rob somewhere else. I don't know. But whatever. Anyways, you see that it's going to rain. You're allowed to cover them up so that it doesn't take a backward step because they're going to get rained on. Okay. Says the Mishnah Berurah. I would just like to receive the Mishnah Berurah. Mocha b'shalmi ta'afilu la'ak or kash b'na mechuber mutter l'tzarech zeh, even though that's a malacha d'oraisa, which is similar to the halacha we said before about constructing the barrels and closing them. In other words, when you have a davar ha'aved, you're essentially allowed to do whatever it takes if it's not a special kind of a ma'aseh uman to do it. Okay? Now, same thing, a person has schar, it has to be aired out. You're allowed to aerate it. The most important halacha of the siman is the last one. I think that this will come as a surprise to most people, and after learning so much of Hilchos Chol Hamoed so far, it shouldn't be a surprise. Hamachave malachta v'nichal hamoed la'asayise b'moed. He didn't listen to all the warnings. And he just left it for Chol Hamoed. Beis Din ma'abdin oisa b'meno u'mafkirin oisa lakol. They cancel him. They take away his produce or whatever it was that he did. Hefker, you cannot benefit from that which you made on Chol Hamoed, and we will actually usurp your bias from it. Okay, is that a surprising halacha? All right. Then what do we do? We put him in cherem and we beat him up. So this is pretty serious halacha. In other words, it's serious. We didn't leave this to HaKadosh Baruch Hu to deal with. We deal with it ourselves. So basically, I don't have much more to say after that. In other words, you understand that this is, what's the thought? What's the thought behind this? The whole reason that you're not allowed to work on Chol Hamoed is they want you to benefit. So you're going to work on Chol Hamoed, we're not going to let you benefit from that what you did. Okay. Now, Rabusa comment, if Beis Din sees the guy, he's getting in his tractor to go to cut down his wheat, they take out their shotgun and they give him flat tires. That's all. And that's it. He's finished for Hamoed. Okay, even though you're losing out, but you were mechaven lasas malachta b'moed, you have to lose. The chiddush halacha is even if you already did it, Beis Din mabidim davrahu b'yadayim, they destroy the goods. We'll say the next halacha, the last halacha is the father, he was driving the tractor and Beis Din saw and they shot the tires and they missed and they got him. Okay? So now he's gone. Now we have the wheat over here, which was Mechavan Nasim Lachta B'Moed, and Beis Din was planning to burn it. I don't know, whatever they're going to do, it'll be Mafkrit Lakol, and now the son yarshins it. So do we burn it still? The halach is no. Why? Because we cancel the person that was Mechavan Nasim Lachta B'Moed. The son wasn't Mechavan Nasim Lachta B'Moed. He yarshined it fair and square. So now it's a Dover Ovid. And we'll let him take care of whatever has to be done. No, there's nothing wrong with the item. This is not like a malacha that was done on Shabbos that you have a Isser Nechefetz. You did a lousy thing. So you have to pay. If it's not you, then the son is potter. Okay. Even if you didn't do it yet, but let's allow us to do it. Okay, so we'll just use this as an example. Many times a person who he had a paper to do. So he decided, I'll do it on Chol Hamoed on vacation. Okay, so what does the Beis Din do? They press the delete button. Right? Is that the right thing to do? 100%. Okay, so we didn't delete him. Anyways, mafkir noisai, fim loizacha ba'adam, nishar ad achar moed, mutil is asik bo. Okay, that's a fascinating halacha. Why? Because then he didn't gain anything. Okay. Shia shel kontain, rabba shel daito ma'abdim mimeno kol aschiros v'ayin shomot. The rabba says that the guy who worked, so besides being menada him and giving him malchus, you cancel him the amount of money that he made on Chol Hamoed. Now this is, I would just like to say there are many people who fall into this question. There are people who looking for work, Chol Hamoed. Are they allowed to work Chol Hamoed? if the poiler doesn't have what to eat, we'll learn about. But a person says, well, here's a great opportunity. This Chol Hamoed, the Makolet lets people take vacation. So, but the guy needs to have the Makolet open, so he's paying double. So, Avada, that's a great, what? Double Avod, right? So the guy wants to take that job. So, as the guy is giving him his job, his money at the end of Chol Hamoed, the Shliach Beis Din comes and takes that kesef shachor and gives it to tzedakah, gives it to the kupat hatzibur, right? Why do you look so disturbed?
The Makolet was allowed to be open. And sell.
But he had no right to work. This bacher who's on vacation and bored.
He goes to work in the Pesach program. You're saying the same thing?
The Pesach program perhaps is a bar mitzvah. There's other heterim.
He's selling the milk to the poor people in the neighborhood because otherwise they're not going to have milk.
Well, I want to tell you something. It doesn't go over well with me, those kind of svaras. I can't say that they don't exist. From my favorite of those svaras is there's a Tzitz Eliezer which discusses a person who owns a hotel charging rent on Yontif. This is because you're doing a mitzvah, achnas orchem. I don't know. I have a bit of an issue with that. For some reason, I don't see it as achnas orchem. But perhaps if the person started off his business because he was a machlas orch, then that could be. But there are such svaras. The pashas is you're selling. Doesn't make a difference if you're doing it in Beverly Hills or you're doing it in Meisharim. Business is business is business. Okay. Good.